Greetings, sailors, and welcome to an entirely non-dramatic, bog-standard, totally ordinary replay that has nothing to do with recent drama whatsoever. It's just a replay from a line I've been grinding, because I don't really have much more else to say about the Puerto Rico right now. I could maybe do a follow-up video on how they might have structured the event a bit better, but that would just be purely my kind of, entirely non-business brain take on how the event might have been nicer from a player point of view. It doesn't necessarily mean it would actually work, because what the heck do I know? I just play this game. So yeah, this is just going to be a completely normal game, and it's obviously going to start with me firing HE in a battleship, because that's what you do, right? That must have been from a previous match and I just didn't notice, because that does happen sometimes. Occasionally you get somebody bow on and you just can't really do much else except to fire a bit of HE. It's not always the wrong choice in a battleship, but most of the time you are probably going to want to be firing AP, because most of the time that's going to be the better ammo, but not all the time. In this case, however, when the first thing seen was a cruiser, then yes, absolutely AP would have been better. This, by the way, is the Tier 8 Soviet battleship, the regular one. And I think it's okay. I think the whole line is, they're okay. I'm slowly grinding my way to the Tier 10, which has a reputation of being more than okay. But this, the Tier 8, I'm not wildly excited about it, even though the Sinop is very strong for its tier. I wasn't really wildly excited about that either. Partly it's the nature of that special dispersion that Russian battleships have going on, but the greater part is that limited use damage control party, which is not really my cup of tea, to be honest. It makes the decision of when to use it a little bit more complicated versus using a heal, and given that you have one less heal than regular battleships as well, or some battleships, it can be, sometimes a lot easier to get caught out in the Soviet battleships when you're deciding which one to use exactly. And I've had games where I've run out of damage control parties, or I've run out of heals, and maybe it's just personal preferences to which you use first. But in most battleships where you might just let a fire burn, for example, in the Soviet battleships, sometimes it's actually better to use one of your limited damage control parties because you don't have that many heals going. In this particular game, though, that's not going to be an issue at all, so this is possibly why this has been one of my better games in this ship. Also, it's really good matchmaking, which helps a lot as well. There's one Tier 8 battleship per team, and I'm this team's... actually, no, I tell a lie, there's two Tier 8 battleships per team. There's the Massachusetts, and I'm this team's Tier 8 on this flank. We've also got one of the enemy ones, the North Carolina, here on this flank as well. And only one destroyer per team, and that coupled with the carrier means that destroyers aren't really a big threat, and so in a battleship that definitely gives you a lot more scope to work with. And we know exactly where their destroyer is. It's a Farragut. It can't stealth torp me anyway, so yeah, I don't have to worry about getting torped on this corner as you sometimes do. Because especially if there's Japanese destroyers in play, one of the things they like to do if they're spawning in the north, or even sometimes the destroyer players that spawn in the south, is to they'll go and play in this corner and use that kind of grid couple of squares in the southwest to play around with and just hose down the area with torpedoes. Now, you might have noticed the little flare coming up there. This is in fact Nikolai Kuznetsov. I could not for the life of me remember what the special gimmick of Kuznetsov was, so you'll see me asking about that to my division mate in the Amalfi in just a second. We're both going to do pretty well in this game, by the way, but the first blood in this captain in particular is a useful one because I will get an extra, well, have gotten an extra charge of consumables, and once you're below a certain amount of health you get like an auto heal and a bit of auto repair as well, something like that. Now, I got a nice hint that North Carolina as well. I'm up to nearly 50k already, but I didn't get the kill, disappointingly. It would have been very nice to get that kill. We're doing alright on this flank though. We've taken out that North Carolina who panicked, turned into the corpse of the Atago and has died, so that's a huge chunk of firepower they've lost. They've got still 2 tier 6 battleships, but that's really not that big of a concern for me. The other flank definitely does look concerning though. We lost our Massachusetts to the carrier. We've got a single cruiser that's now trying to run away, and our Shikaku's down there as well, although they're well out of the danger area for the time being, but they're going to have to move themselves across the map if they want to stay safe. We do need a cap as well. We've only got our starting cap so far, and now that the B cap appears to be free, well, that's exactly where I'm going to head. Rather than go around the corner where everyone else is going, I'm actually going to head into the cap and see if I can secure it. This is a tricky thing to do in a battleship, of course, because your visibility generally means that you're going to get reset a lot if people spot you trying to cap, unless they are extremely busy doing other things, which is hopefully what's going to happen here. And even if I'm in the cap and getting reset, well, they're not getting points from that cap as I'm in the process of trying to cap it. First, however, I have to squeeze past this Bayern, so I kill my speed just in time so we're not bumping into each other. But it looks like this New Orleans isn't really paying attention to me either, trying to get into the cap, so I'm not going to avoid bumping into them. And I'll show you how little attention they're paying to the minimap right now, because not only did they manage to ram into me, but they managed to shoot me as well. So, whoops. Oh well. Didn't set any fires or anything though. So the Megami on the other flank's dead. That leaves that side wide open. The Shikaku is moving across. We've lost our destroyer, and we're behind on points, but it's still not looking bad. And I have got almost all of my health. So this is a mildly concerning situation, but not one where I would be panicking at all, and indeed wasn't panicking at all, because I know my division mate, if nothing else, is a fairly competent player, Mr. Drakfitterer there. I think I've said that right. I have no idea what that means. It probably does mean something, unless it's just a nonsense word in German, and I could say something about Germany having lots of nonsense words, but they're not nonsense words, they just seem incomprehensible to my poor, befuddled English-speaking brain. So that's Ismail broadside at less than 10 kilometers, so unless RNG is very cruel, there we go, that's another kill. I'm fully expecting the Trento that's gone round into sea to maybe try and reset me, so I'm angling in towards that island, and as long as I'm not air spotted, I should be okay. But I'm getting intermittently air spotted as that Shikaku is going for the Amalfi. I would like to basically cap this as quickly as possible, just so we don't have that disparity in caps, and also it does look like the decap is going to start to get capped by that Galissoniere reasonably soon, depending on how effective our carrier is at stopping them. As it turns out, however, it's not just the Trento that's there, the Edinburgh is as well, which is very bad news for this pink Duca d'Aosta. Or to give it its full name, the Emanuele Filiberto Duca d'Aosta, because Italian ships just have the best names. I have at least capped, so we're not going to get reset, and we are now up to about parity in terms of victory points, but my first attempt at a blind shot doesn't go that well, and the Duca is about to get nobbled. Unfortunately, the Farragut is down though, and that Arizona is now just being chased down by Drakfitterer. So that now just leaves me spotted, but I know exactly where this Edinburgh is in the smoke, and nicely for me, even though they can clearly, you know, have had a look at me aiming my guns at their smoke, they decided to fire off that one salvo, which ended up dooming them. Because even though they weren't spotted, and therefore I wasn't able to lock on them and actually get the better dispersion that you have when locked onto a target versus firing at an unlocked target, it didn't matter. I got the double citadel and the pens that were able to just dev strike him anyway. Now I knew inevitably there would be some torpedoes, so I eased back to be in no danger of hitting those. And now I'm going to bring my guns around to try and help out Drachfritter, because he's having to, you know, he can't set fires, he's having to just chip away at the health of this Arizona, and he's got the carrier doing their best to kill him as well. But it's not like I'm actively trying to steal the kill here, although another kill would be nice. I'm on 3 kills at the moment, which puts me within spitting distance of a Kraken. But as it is, Drachfritter is the one that gets the kill, so I am going to try and turn on the inside of this island, which I can just about manage, I think. It's not the most manoeuvrable ship. It's not an American battleship, but yeah, there's just enough space for me to slow down and make the turn and maybe get along to the sea cap, which is currently not taken. Not occupied. It's empty and waiting to just, you know, for me to come and farm some XP out of it. We have lost the decap though, but you know, they've lost some cruisers, they're getting hammered, they're down to just 3 ships, so at this point, you know, we're ahead, we've won. We'd have to seriously screw this up in order to mess it up. And I'm still here with most of my health. So yeah, it's not like I've been inactive, but it's not like I've been particularly shot at that much either. It's one of those odd games where it's been kind of close, except not really that close, because even if it was closer than this, I would still have all these hit points and all these heals left. So I would still be able to potentially dish out a bunch of damage. My only real concern now is at this point is, can I get a Kraken? Which would be nice. I think it would be the first time I managed a Kraken in this ship. I might even get some XP out of capping this as well, but my concern really is more with, I guess, the last 2 ships. We know where the Shikaku is. They're up in the corner. I'd much rather go for the 2 ships which give me the chance of a Kraken rather than go chasing after the Shikaku, which definitely won't. So there's some planes coming in. The Shikaku is running rather low on their torpedo bombers, but as you saw, they still have a decent number of rocket planes and bombers left, although I think they might be running down slightly on bombers as well. Because I had the fighter up, they're only going to get that 1 drop at me, which is, you know, it's enough to get the reset, it's enough to cause me a bit of heavy damage. And I've actually used my first heal only just now, but I'm not getting a lot back out of it, just because that was some heavy damage. But it doesn't really matter that much. They can't do that much to endanger me at this point, so yeah, it's just a matter of trying to get these final kills. And having said I'm not that concerned with getting a cap, it's like, well, I might as well while I'm here, so I've slowed down a little bit, just to get that bit of extra XP. So this is it at this point. Yeah, it's just chasing down these last couple of ships. This wasn't a particularly tough game. We still have half our team left, and they're down to their last couple. Really, it was that first engagement. I think the North Carolina and the Otago really misplayed, and losing 2 of their top tier ships like that seriously hurt them. That definitely gave us a lot of momentum on that flank. And then they were just left with tier 6 battleships and their cruiser that couldn't stealth torp, not a destroyer that couldn't stealth torp. And whereas the other flank did push down, our carrier clearly did some work. I think our New Mexico must have done something as well, because I wasn't really in a position to do much about that flank, and so all they were left with was these 2 ships. So a nice hit there. Drachfritter has a Confederate as well, so we're actually both doing pretty well damage-wise. And we're also both sitting on 3 kills, although Drachfritter is about to get their 4th with the Shikaku, but there's no chance he'll get a 5th, just because, you know, the other remaining 2 ships are down here. So broadside on the Poltava, this could be nice. RNG's plus. There we go, very nice. Of course, having killed that Poltava, we're now less than 50 points towards 1,000. And one of the downsides of these ships is they have a long reload compared to other ships. typically around 33 seconds, which is like, you know, the new mechs has that, for instance, and that's not that great. So I'd need really good RNG on this final shot, but as it turns out, nope. No. So not only did I fail to secure the Kraken with just not quite getting that North Carolina earlier, but then with that final shot where I, to be fair, would have needed pretty good RNG to kill the Trento. It was a Trento, I just would have needed a couple of hits. You know, a Citadel obviously would have been very nice, but as it was, every single shell missed. So RIP. So a nice 1-2 at the top of the team list there, over 2,000 base XP for the both of us. Which, to be fair, for that matchmaking is kind of what you would expect. You would want your tier 8s to be doing very well. And actually, the enemy Trento was towards the top of their team, but I don't think anybody scored all that well. So, yeah, it wasn't a tough victory. It was more that it was almost a Kraken, but not quite, just because of the really terrible RNG on that last salvo, apart from anything else. And, you know, it also showed off some of the good points of the ship, the better dispersion at close ranges, the tankiness of it. But, yeah, it maybe wasn't the most exciting ship. It was more of a solid, exciting game, rather. It was more of a solid replay than a super amazing one. So, hopefully you enjoyed this completely non-drama from Wargaming filled video. Even though, of course, it won't get anything like the views. I'm not cynical. What are you talking about? And if you did enjoy it, you can do all the usual things down underneath it. And, of course, as always, stay tuned for more.